And ladies and gentlemen, like all the stakeholders of the startup community that we get on this show, Team Startup Central thrives on constructive criticism. We want to hear from you on how to take the show to the next level, so keep writing into us. Our email address right on top, suc@etnow.tv. Well, it's been a big couple of days when it comes to fundraising, and that too large fundraising. Guess who's the latest? It is Razorpay. Razorpay became a unicorn in 2020, and it has now trebled its valuation to enter the $3 billion club. That's right, it's just hopped, skipped and jumped from the $1 billion valuation to $3 billion plus. And joining me to talk about this is Harshil Mathur. Harshil, the co-founder, joining us live right here on Startup Central. Big congratulations. Tell us about the fundraise. It's certainly a big milestone.
Yeah, thanks, Nandra. I think, of course, 2021 has been to a great start from a startup ecosystem perspective. And we have some wonderful news to share. We have raised a new round of $160 million from our existing investors, Sequoia and GSE. Sequoia and GSE invested in Razorpay in Series D round late October last year when we entered the Unicorn Club. But in the last 6 months, given the growth that Razorpay has seen, they have invested further and given us a valuation of a little more than $3 billion. So pretty excited about that.
Okay, so your valuation has trebled. That's a lot to say. That means the business. Would that mean the business has also trebled in the year gone by?
Yes, it has, and this is on the back of the kind of growth that we have seen in last 1 year. Our business volume as well as revenue and everything else has grown by more than 3x, and this is just an outcome of that growth.
Tell me something. What's the plan of action? This large fundraise. What happens next?
Yeah, so there are a couple of reasons we have raised this round. Our day-to-day business burn is not that high. We are a B2B company. We don't burn a lot of capital, so we didn't really need the funding for our day-to-day operations. But the primary reason we have raised is for threefold. First is I think our newer initiatives like business banking and lending are seeing really good early traction. So the goal is to invest a lot more in them to expand the product suite, to expand the team size and everything else on those to scale up those two new business segments. Secondly, we are looking at inorganic growth in forms of acquisitions and M&A, and a higher valuation mark helps us do that a lot better. So one of the purposes is how can we look at companies which can help us scale faster in the banking and lending side. So we are looking at companies in the B2B SaaS space that can join the Razorpay family and grow, and we can grow faster with them. The third thing is that we are also looking at launching in Southeast Asia, the payments business in particular, where we have seen really good traction. We are almost at a leadership position in the internet ecosystem in India. We want to take that in markets like Southeast Asia, where there is demand and growth for almost as similar as India had a couple of years back. So those are the three major reasons for the fundraiser right now.
Okay, so you're also looking at inorganic growth, Harshil. Now, do you have any targets in mind? You've done this large fundraise with one of the stated objectives being inorganic growth. You're talking about betting big on SaaS, etc. Now, it's no secret, Sequoia, all of 2020 was betting big on that. We also know how funds like to see consolidation of their portfolio companies. Give us a little sneak peek of what's ahead.
We are talking to a lot of companies in that space. There's nothing closed as of yet that I can share, but there are a lot of discussions underway. And our goal is that we work with a lot of merchants. We power one of the largest number of merchants in the internet ecosystem today. How can we make their lives easier? And are there companies or product teams that have built really good product and tech? And if they come in a Razorpay family, they can get really rapid traction because of the merchant relations that we already have. Those are the kind of things that we are looking at. An example would be like we acquired this company, Opfin, which built payroll for businesses. And we acquired them in the last 1 year. We have seen about 8 to 10x growth in their traction because we already have merchants who needed a cloud-based payroll solution, and we've seen really rapid growth. So those are the kind of companies we look at from that perspective.
So can I also, pick your brains and ask you, with what all that you're telling me, what's the future of lending and banking? You're saying that you've seen so much growth when it comes to these verticals. People are now saying that, maybe consumer banks, as we know them today, corporate banks as we know them today, will be replaced. We'll just have banking on our phones or some other device, all of that. According to you, what is the future of this business?
Yeah, I think lending is a part and parcel of banking, right? So when we talk about SME problems, lending is one of the biggest problems that SMEs in the country face. No big banks want to lend out to them. They're very hard to deal with NBFCs for them. I think the reason we launched lending is simple, that we have a lot of data about these businesses. Can we use that data to help them get a loan? In the last 6 months, you've seen really rapid traction. Today, we are doing more than 600 to 800 crore of lending through our platform every month. This number was less than half a year back. So the kind of scale up that we have seen is really rapid. Similarly, we launched a corporate card platform 6 months back. It's one of the fastest scaling products on our platform. So there is a lot of demand for lending right now. I think fintech companies such as ours, which has a lot of data about businesses, which has a lot of view about how the business is doing, I think we can really help these businesses get a loan much better and much faster than anyone else in the market. And that is what we are betting on.
Since you're talking about what all you're going to bet on, I want to ask you this one question, Harshil. When you and your co-founder, Shashank, started Razorpay, there was a bit of chatter that it's entering a crowded space. The market is overcrowded. And you've really, really stood out. You've left the others behind. Where do you see Razorpay headed 5 years from now?
Yes, yeah. There are three major units that we have, which is payments, lending, and banking. And if you talk about payments, you're right. Like we have achieved almost a leadership position in the internet ecosystem. We power one of the largest number of merchants in the internet ecosystem today, and that is on the back of the product and tech differentiations that we have built. So yeah, you're right. When we launched, the space was considered crowded, but the approach that we took in terms of creating a better product, creating a better tech solution, and being the most innovative company in the space, and that has allowed us to gain a lot of traction in the internet ecosystem. I think we want to go deeper with these businesses. So if you talk about just payments, I think we are doing incredibly well, but we don't want to limit ourselves to payments. We want to go deeper with these businesses. We want to help them, help power their lending business, lending side, help power their banking side, help power their vendor payments, salary payments, treasury operations, tax payments, and everything else. The goal for Razorpay is, I think in the next 5 years, is to be the single financial app or platform that a business needs. That you start a company, you integrate with Razorpay, and everything to do with finance, whether it's banking, lending, payments, everything, Razorpay takes care of it, and you can focus on your core business. You don't have to worry about it. That is the goal for us.
Okay, fair point. And the reason I was also, of course, asking you this is because suddenly the B2B space, is it getting crowded? You've got like geo-targeting that business, you've got Amazon looking at that business, Paytm, the Khata books, the Bharat Pays of this world. Now, the other thing I want to ask you is, and for these ambitions you have, and I've discussed this with you offline, Harshil, for all of this to become a reality, you're going to have to increase your depth when it comes to languages, right? You're going to have to add many more languages. What's happening on that front?
Yeah. So we onboarded more than 7 lakh merchants during the pandemic last year. And that is a big number. Like in terms of volume, we grew by, as I said, 300% last year on the back of pandemic. And even right now, we are seeing the growth is continuing. It's not that the growth paused. As a second wave of pandemic is coming in, people are again staying at home, transacting more online, buying things more online. And we are seeing growth because of that as well. We launched vernacular last year, and the purpose was that internet payments is not limited to tier 1, tier 2 cities anymore. It's going down to tier 3, tier 4, where English is not the preferred mode of communication. So we launched Hindi and multiple other languages last year. We continue to double down on it. And as we enter Southeast Asia, the ecosystem that we have built, the platform is already built for multilingual. So adding more languages is not very hard for us anymore. The first time you add another language, that's complicated, but now the platform is built for multilingual approach. So it's not very hard for adding other languages. The challenge, of course, is entering Southeast Asia is regulatory. Each of these markets has their own regulator, have their own regulatory complexity. But working in India for the last 6 years, I think we have built enough capabilities and skills to ensure that we can comply with regulations in each of these local geographies, at the same time help the businesses grow faster.
Can I flip the question around and ask you that in India, what is stopping your crazy plans that you have, the blitzkrieg plans that you have, like what is holding Harshil, Shashank, Razorpay back?
I think there is still a lot of infrastructure that needs to be developed, right? Like from a payment side, we are growing very well, and I think a lot of steps from the regulator side has been also very positive in that. On banking and lending, it's still fairly early. A lot of things that we are trying to do are fairly new in the ecosystem. So we have to work with banks, we have to work with NBFCs, you have to convince them that this is the new way of doing lending, this is the new way of doing banking. So it takes some time to do that. It takes some time to convince people of new models that haven't been tried before, and that delays our speed of operations a little bit. I think that is a big focus area for us.
What about the onboarding of merchants? Is that a challenge? I'm sure the pandemic helped solve a lot of that problem, but does that remain an issue at all? Are they all comfortable now?
It's not a challenge. We've sorted it out, but yeah, I think if I talk about like an ask, I think one challenge in the Indian ecosystem is that there is KYC for merchants in India is still not a solved problem. Like for businesses, there's no central format of KYC. There's no digital KYC proof. There's no Aadhaar equivalent for businesses in India. So if you want to onboard businesses, there's a lot of paperwork. There's a lot of documents that you have to collect. And there's a lot of complication in the way the KYC process runs, and that takes a lot of time and bandwidth. So if you were to ask like what could make the ecosystem grow faster, if there was a central way that we could do KYC for merchants like the way we do for consumers now, that could really help the B2B side grow much faster.
I touched upon this earlier. I want to ask you one more question. I'd asked you when your plans for this market, you were a late entrant when it came to payments, but I want to spend a little more time with you talking about the other part of your business, which is to do with the small and medium businesses, because this seems to be the flavor of the day, whether it is an Amazon, whether it's a Jio, whether it's a Paytm, whether it's a Khatabook, the BharatPay, the list goes on and on and on. Is this a winner-take-all market? Is it large enough for all of you, or will consolidation be inevitable?
I do believe that B2B is different. B2B is not a winner-take-all market like B2C is. And the reason for that is B2B, every business is different. Every business segment is different. Like, so a one-size-fits-all approach of B2C doesn't work in B2B. So when we talk about us, we focus on specific segment, which is the internet ecosystem. That is where we have the biggest depth. That is where we power payments. That is where we are building banking and everything. And I think we understand that space better than anyone else. Now, there are players who are focusing on the mom and pop kirana shop type customer. They have a very different kind of need. The way they look at finance, the way they look at banking and everything else is very different. And similarly, if you look at large enterprises, companies of the size of Reliance and stuff, right? They have very different kind of finance needs. So I think each segment and each domain in B2B space is different. And that's why a tailor-made approach for a particular segment is what will win. I think we have that approach for the internet ecosystem. There are people trying in different other ecosystems. But I think net, I'm very positive about that. A lot of people are looking at B2B space. B2B used to be considered, like when we entered, everyone was focused on B2C. B2B used to be considered like this background child, like nobody really used to care about it. And but I believe that, and we believed at that point of time that there's a lot more opportunity in B2B. And today it's great to see that everyone else in the ecosystem is also realizing that, which means that a lot of innovation that we have seen in the B2C side, we'll see similar level of innovation in the B2B side in the next couple of years, which will be more tailor-made for specific segments of B2B.
Harshil, today if a new founder, a young entrepreneur, a young startup employee is watching you, reading about Razorpay, they'll be like, wow, what a, picture perfect story. Everything looks so rosy, but it's never that the case. It's very easy to forget the hardship, the instances of failures, the near-death moments that goes into building something so large. And you've trebled your valuation in less than a year. So when you look back at your journey, what stands out? What would your message be to all those tuning in, the new entrepreneurs, the new age young guns?
Yeah, no doubt. Definitely, it has not been an easy journey. It has been through its ups and downs, through its complications, and we are not at the end of the journey. Like 3 billion isn't really success for us. The success for us would be when we can create the kind of impact we want to create on the ecosystem, when we can take the company public someday, and all of those things. So 3 billion is a great milestone, but it basically is that we have to do a lot more work. There's a lot more work ahead of us. That is what it is. But if I look back at the journey, I think there have been times when me and Shashank have sit back and question, is this the right domain? I think I remember in the early days when we had to deal with banks, different banks, and banks didn't take us seriously. It was very hard for us. They had very similar viewpoints that there's so many players in this space. Why are you getting in this space? You don't have a banking or finance background. Guys don't understand the space well. Why are you launching in this space? I personally had met almost 100 plus bankers and been rejected by at least 80 to 90 of them before we got permission to start Razorpay. So it has been tough. We have been through our tough times, but we are glad at the place where we are. There's still a long road ahead of us.
Harshil, I'll make this my final question. I've tried to ask you some, in a bit, I've got some of the answers. What are the next big milestones for you and for Razorpay? What's the big message?
Yeah, so if you look at like the company today, like on the payment side, we have scaled well. We are almost breaking even there. And if we were just a payments company, we could even go public at this point. But our goal is deeper. We want to build banking for businesses. We want to build lending for businesses. And those are deep and hard problems. So I think we are still couple of years away where those will also scale up to a point where they reach similar points as where we are in terms of payments. And I think, of course, one big milestone for us would be to take the company public at some point of time. I think it'll still take us next 3 to 4 years for us to plan an IPO, but that will be a big milestone that I personally look forward to.
Okay, thanks a lot, Harshil, for joining us, and big congratulations to you and the entire Razorpay team. I'm sure you got some kind of plans, a virtual plan for celebrating this very big milestone. With that, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a short commercial break. On the other side, another unicorn that's raised big bucks and almost doubled its valuation.